Welcome to this edition of Ask the Expert. I'm your host, Patty Nuovo, and today our guest is Dr. Donna Pentrello. Dr. Donna Pentrello is a chiropractic doctor, and she's going to be speaking about a specialty that she works with called Atlas Orthogonal. That's certainly a mouthful. Welcome, Donna.
Thank you, Patty.
Donna, could you explain first, what is chiropractic? I know a lot of people know what it is, but I'd like you to explain it, and then we'll talk about the specialty that you work with.
Thank you. I'd be glad to explain that. Chiropractic is over 100 years old, and our job primarily is to remove what we call subluxations, another big word, but what that means is that, and we can look at the spine model here, that the different vertebrae can go out of place, and these little things that come out the side here, that represents nerves. And when we have a subluxation, we have effects on nerves, and nerves supply everything we do, our immune system, all our organs. Every time we want to move or have our heartbeat or have our liver function, we rely on these nerves. So by removing subluxations or these misalignments of the individual vertebrae, we help the body to be more healthy, and we also help the spine to be able to move more freely. The spine is truly the core of the body, and it's the first thing that develops when we're just little eggs. An egg and a sperm come together, and the first thing that actually forms is the little spinal cord. So it controls and coordinates the whole entire body.
Donna, what would throw the spine out? Is that normal? Does that normally happen? Could you explain why does subluxation happen?
Sure, I'd be happy to explain it. Subluxations happen from things like falls. We call it traumatic incidents, a car accident, a fall, a dive into a pool, maybe when you're not supposed to dive and you hit your head, or even childbirth can cause this. So sometimes people have things they don't really know a specific cause, but it could be as early as childhood or childbirth. Chemical imbalances can cause subluxations, and also lots of stress, emotional things can also cause that.
So now you explained that this started 100 years ago. Mm-hmm. Where did it start and who started it?
Okay, it started in 1895 in Davenport, Iowa, of all places. The person who started it, his name is D.D. Palmer. And there was a school there, the school that I went to, which is called Palmer College of Chiropractic, and it's still in Davenport, Iowa. He actually, we call it adjustments when we remove the subluxation. He adjusted someone who had been deaf for a number of years. His name was Harvey Lillard. He's famous in chiropractic, and he was a janitor. And when Dr. Palmer adjusted him, he got his hearing back. So originally, it was thought that chiropractic was a cure for deafness.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow. That's interesting. Now, your specialty, it's a mouthful, Atlas Orthogonal. And the reason I wanted you to be on here is because you're a specialist in that. That's what you do. I know that you teach it both here in Petaluma at one of the schools, as well as in Oakland, and you also have your private practice that you specialize with that. So could you explain what that is and where that came from and what's that word?
Yes, I can explain, and we can look at our first picture. Atlas Orthogonal Chiropractic. There it is, changing the world one atlas at a time. What is the atlas? The atlas is the very first bone in the neck. And we call it the atlas because you can see the figure in there, and it comes from Greek mythology. Atlas is holding up the planet. And for us, our head is our planet. So the atlas vertebra holds up the entire skull. And it's a very important, very significant area for a lot of reasons. It's the interface between the brain and the rest of the body, and the body to the brain. So we call this the brainstem area. That area has to be perfectly aligned. Otherwise, we can have all kinds of problems, all kinds of changes throughout the body, not just in the head and neck. So it's extremely significant, and that's why I decided to specialize in it.
Wow. Now, the person who brought that, how did that come about, this specialty?
Okay, and I didn't actually answer fully your question. Atlas, we talked about what the atlas is, but orthogonal means right angles. So in Atlas Orthogonal Chiropractic, what we have is we have the atlas, and then we have the head and the neck. And what we want is the head and the neck to be perpendicular to the atlas. It's like a straight line like this of the head and the neck, and then a perpendicular atlas level with the horizon. Orthogonal means it's straight angles. So when the head and the neck are straight and the atlas is level with the ground, we have the greatest opportunity for the most open space in that area of the head and the neck. We want everything to be perfectly lined up so that all the communication, again, from the brain to the rest of the body and back is fully open. And the other thing is, if the head is off level, the rest of the body has to compensate for that. We are designed to have our head over the center of the body. If the head goes off to the side because the atlas is out of place, the rest of the body will compensate for that, and we can talk about that a little bit later. But this technique was developed by a doctor who is based in Atlanta. His name is Dr. Roy Sweat. And he, over the last 50 plus years, has been working on this program, and it's incredible what he has done. He has invented an instrument to adjust the atlas. It is patented, and there is a special table for that. I have the portable version with me, so we can show it here today. But he has spent most of his life developing this work, knowing that it's of the great importance for humanity to clear that area and make sure that people's heads are on straight.
Donna, when you mentioned about space, could you explain a little bit what you meant by that?
Yeah, sure. We can look at this model again here. If we look at, this is a model of the bottom of the head, the bottom bone of the skull. And this is the atlas vertebra here. This is the first bone in the neck. And then there's the rest of the neck here. When these things are lined up, and I have another model here that can show it. I don't know if your camera if you can see that. Okay. So what we're looking at is, we're looking at everything lined up here. And if you can see that. See how it's lined up? See how I can kind of go like that because it's all lined up? Well, what happens if I turn this? See how it's not open anymore?
I see.
So it's that kind of, I mean, that's very extreme, but that's the idea. We want this area to be free. We want the nerve impulses, we want the cord, the spinal cord, which is what goes through that hole, to not have any interference to it. You can imagine a cervical spinal cord injury where someone like Christopher Reeve, who had very big deficits because he had a spinal cord injury pretty high up in his neck. So you can just tell from an injury like that how important the neck area is and how important it is for it to be without interference, free and open and clear. Now what happens if that area is compromised, two things can happen. Well, actually, more than two things can happen, but if the head goes off level, and we have a next picture to show that. If the head goes off level, the rest of the spine, the rest of the body has to compensate for that. So you can see the picture on the left there. We have a head that's tilted to the left. And we have, look at the shoulders, how they're tilted now. The pelvis is tilted the other way. Everything's trying to basically keep us from falling over. Our head has to be over the feet or we'll fall over. So everything has to compensate for that misalignment. And it shows up that we have a short leg. The leg isn't really short. If we measured it, it wouldn't be short, but it shows up. It looks like it's short because everything is compensating for that head being off. When the atlas is placed in its correct position, as in the picture on the right, then everything can line up again.
I see. Now, how do you help